All 4 combat style specific League's relics have been revealed, and while some of them are extremely good, I think some picks you may be walking into a trap. So let's do a deep dive into all 4 of them, weigh the pros and cons of each, and then I'll be making my own actual relic choice for the League. Not only will I be revealing my pick, but I'm also going to do a detailed breakdown on the pros and cons of each, with guidance both for newer players as well as seasoned veterans. With that said, sit back, relax, and let's dive into these 4 combat relics, starting off with melee. Generate 2x adrenaline with basic melee abilities. That seems really nice. Melee ability cooldown reduced by 20%. Okay, that seems nice. That's not like insane, but it's nice. 100% hit chance with melee attacks. So I saw this. This is really good because what this means is because power bonus doesn't mean that much until like the very end game. If you wanted to, you could actually get Crypt Bloom and then melee in Crypt Bloom, but deal full damage. And it will be absolutely goated. You will take no damage, and you will deal a lot of damage. So there are some really cool pieces of tech you can do here with 100% hit chance. Like, you can melee in magic tank gear if you want to. Melee attack range increased by 1. Oh my god, look how far away he is. Yo. See, this I think is going to play really weird, but it's going to be really good. Melee base damage increased by 500. So this is absolutely ridiculous. Base damage in RuneScape terms, when I first saw this, I thought it meant you got plus 500 flat damage on top of melee. So I was like, oh, so bleeds are gonna be... No. Base damage increase, it is like at the start of your combat calculation for melee damage, that's just gonna be plus 500. So I'm gonna go into the game now, and I'm gonna show you what your regular damage looks like. And then you guys are going to see what this means and how impactful it is. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to load best in slot melee. So in best in slot melee with an exit kill, that's tier 100. In full best in slot, that's going to take you from 2346 to 2846, which is like, it's ballpark like a plus 20% damage with an end game setup, right? So in best in slot, this is going to mean like you're basically doing 20% more damage. Okay, here's the thing though. What about earlier on? If you're using a tier 60 dragon weapon, like a dragon halberd, which is likely what you're gonna use for a lot of your meleeing. As soon as you're level, like, you wanna use halberds all the way up because they have a bigger attack range. So this is a dragon spear, but it's got the same stats as the dragon halberd. All of a sudden, my damage rating is 1252 with the dragon spear. Let's compare that to a chaotic maul. Oh my god, it's more than a chaotic maul. Holy crap. This might be kind of insane. Putting the scythe on. 684. What? Wait, what? That's better than a scythe. Holy crap. 1800. Yeah. The closest comparison is this will quite literally take a dragon halberd and it will make it better than a Tumikin's Light, which is a tier 95. It's going to basically turn any melee weapon into a much higher tier weapon, like in the ballpark of 30 tiers. So when you get those endgame weapons, they're going to feel disgustingly powerful, right? They're going to feel ridiculously strong. But before that, it means that if you want to go in with a dragon halberd and train to 99s really fast and deal a ton of damage and get things like a Zuck Cape, you'll absolutely be able to. Like, dragon halberd will be good enough to do a lot of bosses. This is probably the strongest benefit so far we've seen of any of the relics. Like, it is a significant boost to your damage to the point that, yeah, melee is very juiced. All right, let's keep going into our reveal. Melee base damage heals for 10% of damage dealt? This is like double soul split at all times. This is bananas. Basically, melee is gonna have all of any piece of gear you put on is gonna be 20 to 30 to 35 tiers above. And you're gonna get lifesteal, so you're not gonna need food for like anything. That's sort of where melee is at. With that said, let's look at the next relic. Okay, actually, before we look at the next relic, why don't we rank this? I think it's ranking time. Early game power, I think melee has to get a 10 for early game power because a tier, like a rune halberd is gonna be like a noxious scythe. Like, yeah, it has to get a 10, right? And also the healing as well. It's got utility and it's got high tier damage. To me, that's a 10. Late game power, you're getting 20% additional damage. You're also stuck melee camping, which is a weaker style than a lot of the others, but you're never going to have to use any food. And you're going to be using like tier 130 weapons. Like a 9? Ease of use? This is where melee will lose a little bit. The lifesteal is great, but you're also still using melee. So to me, it's like a 5 for ease of use. Like melee is easier to use than range, but it's way harder to use than magic and necromancy. And then for fun, and I will also make a note that this is very subjective, I'm not gonna lie, the idea of running around with a scythe that has extra attack range that is tier 130 while I always gain double adren, I think this is at least like an 8. Like a bronze dagger becomes, yeah, there's like an 8 or a 9. Yeah, I'm gonna say a subjective 9 because melee is sick. So that's melee so far. Let's go look at our next relic. So I actually, yeah, I'm gonna upgrade melee here. I'm gonna upgrade melee to a 6 because, yeah, you could pick excavator, which everyone's gonna pick anyway. You could mine and smith, make elder rune, and then kill everything in the game with elder rune. That's super fair. Let's go look at the range one. Generate double adrenaline. Okay, so that's the same as melee. Range really cooldowns you say 20. Okay, so that's the same. 100% hit chance. Yep, that's the same. 50% chance to save ammo. So this was changed today. It is now 95% chance to save ammo. It's now 95. So basically, one arrow is gonna last 20 hits, which is a lot better. But yeah, so it's an ammo save. Like to me, that helps with the upkeep, but it isn't powerful. Single target attacks also hit up to 9 enemies within 1 tile. Oh, okay, so this is permanent chins. I'm not gonna lie, this one's gonna be fun. This one's gonna be really fun. I think this is good for training. In practice, I actually don't know, like, I don't know where this would excel in, like, PVMing. I don't really honestly think there's anywhere that this is that good for actual, like, PVM stuff. But definitely really good for Slayer. Someone said solo Angel of Death. Yes, a thing that most people will be doing, I'm sure. Like, it's good for Zuck, it's nice for elite dungeons, but I don't see this having, like, end game. Like, it's not like the melee thing where you just get more damage on everything, right? This is gonna be really good for training and leveling up. Yeah, to me, this is cool. I will also say, oh, that's it. I thought there was gonna be another range effect. Okay, so comparing permanent Chinchompas to plus 30 tiers, as well as lifesteal, to me, range is underwhelming. Without a doubt, range is underwhelming. Like, this is very cool, but I was expecting there to be a last thing on range that's like, also, range abilities hit double or something, or like, thresholds are twice as good, or like, special attacks have double the duration, or I don't know. I was expecting something else, but I think range feels weak compared to melee. But, let's assess. Ease of use for range. Range is known as the most difficult combat style in the game. In terms of style camping, there's a lot of stack management at the end game. This is the most difficult style to use in RuneScape, and it's not particularly close. So we are going to a 2 for ease of use on ranging. It's just a difficult combat style, and none of the relic effects make it easier to use particularly. Early game power for ranged. Let's go look at our little progression path, which is here. So our gear progression for range. You are basically using short bows and long bows and rune crossbows. And when you're using melee, you're going to be 30 tiers above the whole time. And you don't have good at, like, the thing about range is it doesn't get its power until you get Essence of Finality amulets and Greater Ricochet. So I am actually going to give range a pretty bad early game power rating. I think if melee gets a 10, I'm going to give ranged a 4. Late game power for ranged. This is an interesting one because in RuneScape, it is the strongest style in the game. But compared to the melee relic, it's going to be worse than melee camping, I think. Just because the effect doesn't give you more single target damage. I'm actually going to give it an 8, even though in the live game of RuneScape, range would be a 10 and melee would be like a 5. But the relic effect is so strong on melee and is so weak on range that, yeah, I'm going to say 8. And then fun for ranging, very subjective. I actually do think permachins is fun. I would go from a 2 to like, I actually think this is kind of a 4. Because there are going to be some fun implications of like stacking things on top of each other and tactical nuking that will feel very cool. Yeah, to me, ease of use 2, ease of upgrades 2. By the way, if you're wondering why ease of upgrades gets a 2, if you look at the upgrade path for range, it is the longest in the entire game. It is absolutely insane. And it doesn't get to the level of like even tier 90 Necromancy until you're halfway down the list. Yeah, because you've got Corruption Blast, you've got Greater Ricochet, Fleeting Boots, Greater Death Swiftness, Saren Godbow, Eldritch Crossbow, Dark Bow, 2 EOFs, then a Bolg from Zamorak, then another EOF, Stalker's Ring, Grimoire, Cinderbane's Core Hammer, which is the literal most annoying upgrade in human history. And then Elite Dracolich, Genesis Shard, and then, yeah, it's gross. It is an absolutely gross chain. I might put ease of upgrades down to 1, bro. It is brutal. See, here's the thing, right? Imagine if the range relic gave you critical strike adrenaline at all times. Like, it was just like crit buff was always active. Then you wouldn't need the hammer. The ease of upgrades would go from a 1 to like a 4. The late game power would go from an 8 to a 9. The ease of use would go from a 2 to like a 6. Like, to me, that's what I think range should have done. Actually, I'm gonna upgrade the fun because there will be some fun things with chins. 5, 2, 2, 4, 8. That is ranging to me. That is how I feel about the range relic. Let's go look at magic and let's go look at necromancy. Abracadaver is crazy, by the way. Generate double adrenaline. Okay, we know that. Wait, with basic necromancy abilities. Okay, so does that include auto attack? Hopefully. Necromancy ability cooldowns reduced by 20%. I will say this, by the way, the adrenaline buff, I forgot to mention this. This benefits necromancy more than any of the other styles because all of the other styles have other ways to generate adrenaline via crits, whereas necromancy doesn't. So because of that, this is actually a significant boost to necromancy. It means you're always going to get all of your bloats. You're always going to get all of your death skulls. So this helps necro more than the other styles, even though it's the same. 100% hit chance. Bro, necromancy already does that. Just about. 50% chance to not consume ectoplasm in necromancy runes. Was this changed to 95? I'm assuming yes, right? Yes, it was? Sick. Okay. That actually makes the upkeep for necromancy. Yeah, that's really nice. 95% chance not to consume ectoplasm necromancy runes is like, whew, that's nice. Necromancy conjurers are bigger and 25% stronger. So bigger is, oh my God, he's huge. Yeah, you could say taller and manlier. What a unit. This is the skeleton that your girl tells you not to worry about. Holy crap. This is like the resurrected skeleton of like an NBA player. Yeah, so I don't know why they're being made bigger. Like, I get it that it would look cool, but visually it's going to be a mess. That's fine. 25% stronger is actually kind of good because not only does that mean like your skeleton does more damage, but the way that the ghost, which is the most powerful necromancy conjure, works is it heals you based on the damage it deals. So if it hits 25% harder, you're also going to get 25% more heals than it usually would. So the ghost is going to be pretty yoked for heals. It's going to be really, really good. Talent tree fully unlocked. Oh, man. See, here's the thing. This is all stuff you can just go and unlock, but it requires... Well, here's the thing. If you have to do this quest chain for Raziel anyway, does this mean anything? This might not actually mean anything. If you're picking Necromancy, you need to get to Raziel anyway. It removes the 30k souls wreck. Oh, okay. So it's a time skip. I got you. So you still have to quest. And you'd still need 86 archaeology, but you wouldn't need the souls. Okay, so that's it for the Necromancy Relic. This is a crazy take. I think the Necromancy Relic is actually really well balanced. Like, it's not yoked, but everything it does is nice. Like, ease of use for Necromancy, like, it's got to be a 10. It's the easiest style by a long shot, by a country mile. It has so few abilities. It's so easy to do a good rotation, especially with double the Dren. Ease of use has to be a 10. Early game power, I actually don't know that it's as good as Melee, where you get lifesteal, but I would say like a 9 for early game power, because when you're really looking at it, you get the Ghost right away. You're not going to have to worry about rune upkeep. You get Bone Shield right away. You get tons of Adren to play with right away. You unlock Bloat right away. Yeah, that seems really, really good. But then late game power, you definitely have to go lower. To me, this is a 6 for late game power. I think this is goated for like, you're new to RuneScape, you don't know what you're not super engrossed in combat. You want to just cook bosses without, having to do a whole lot or think a whole lot. Or quest a whole lot. Well, I guess I'll still have to quest, but yeah. Yeah, if melee is a 9 for power, range is an 8 for power, I think necromancy is a 6 for power. End game. Early game, and when you're less proficient, conjures matter a lot because they're doing like a couple, let's say it's like 100 and something thousand damage per minute just for existing. But at the end game, when every style is pumping 600k DPM, conjures don't matter that much. What you're saying, 25% conjure damage means your conjures might be doing 200k instead of 150k. But in terms of your overall DPM, that is like a 5 to 10% overall increase in DPM, which is way weaker than melee. And compared to range, which is by default just a way stronger style, yes, Necromancy will still underperform compared to range in terms of endgame damage. Yeah, so that's why the late game power is lower than range, even though the relic is more powerful. It's a weaker style late game. Okay, last one is fun of the Necromancy relic. Like, to me, being able to swap, like being able to do everything with extra attack range is fun. Chinning the whole world is fun. Does this change the way you play at all for Necromancy? I actually think it does. I think the double adrenaline is saving Necromancy's fun rating here. Because instead of having to carefully fit abilities in for a good living death, you're going to be able to LD and skulls like a bajillion times. You're going to be able to thresh a lot. You're going to be able to ult more. You don't need to worry about rune upkeep. I actually do think this will be pretty fun. I'm going to give Necromancy, I think it's more fun than ranged to me. Once again, fun, very subjective. I'm going to give Necromancy a 7 for fun. I think it would be really enjoyable to play the League with Necromancy. Is a 7 too high? I actually think using Necromancy with permanent natty is going to feel great. I think I'm happy with my ratings for Necromancy. Let's look at Magic. I will also say Magic is my favorite style. Double Adren, sure. Ability cooldown 20%. This is not as good for Magic as the other styles because Magic has a good amount of good abilities. And it also has things that already get rid of your cooldowns, like Temporal Anomaly, which is an aspect you can put on that gives you just like a 20% chance of abilities not having any cooldown. So to me, this is less good for Magic than the other styles. 100% hit chance, nice. Yep. 100% chance to be able to save runes in combat. I'm assuming this was changed to 95. Yes? Yeah, it was sick. Love that. Love that. Magic crit strike damage is increased by 50. Ooh, okay. Oh, do I like that or do I hate that? To me, crit chance would have been way nicer early game. So the way that Magic progression works is you kind of do a bleed build until you get all of the crit stuff, and then you can start doing a crit build, and then it's strong. So this is really good for late game Magic, but for early game, this means nothing. Your account has 10% base crit chance early game. That is all you'll have until you get to the late game. So this means basically nothing for all of the early game and the mid game stuff, but at the end game, it will be really good. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's like a 3% damage increase into late game. Exactly. And that's it for Magic. Oh, man. Magic, no. Magic's my favorite style. Oh, boy. Okay. Oh, yeah, and also, just to show you how crit chance works in RuneScape, I think this is done. Yeah, combat damage. Cool. So the way that crit chance works is you just get 10% by default, but you actually gain crit damage as you level up. When you're level 90 Magic, you get plus 50% crit damage. So with Magic, it's going to be plus 100%. That arguably makes this even worse, because crit damage you can get pretty easily. Crit strike chance is way, way harder to come by. So, okay. What is the ease of use on Magic? I am going to go with 6. I'm going to go 7. You get Animate Dead, you can tank really nicely, but also, I think 2 above melee, 3 under Necromancy makes sense. The rotations with Magic are pretty simple. You just Greater Concentrated Blast a lot, and you'll do good damage. So I think the ease of use is pretty solid for Magic. I'm fine with that as a 7. Let's look at early game power. So this is where if it was crit chance and not crit damage, the power would be way better. Is it better or worse than range? I think it's still better than range, because range, until you get Gricko, it's garbage. I'm going to go 5. Okay. Now let's look for late game power for Magic. Compared to 30 tiers of melee, because Magic and melee are similar damage output styles to begin with. Magic's a little ahead in the late game. 50% crit damage. In the end, that's only I think melee is getting a 20% DPS increase and lifesteal, and Magic is getting a 10% DPS increase and no lifesteal. Like a 7? Maybe a 6? I think a 7's okay. Very subjectively, let's look at our fun rating. What is the fun rating on Magic? What I'm thinking about is this relic doesn't change the way you play the game at all. The extra adren doesn't really matter much for magic. It's less good with magic than with the other styles. Extra crit damage, there's no counterplay for that. You already lean into crit. I'm gonna give magic a 4. It's my favorite style, but nothing about that set of relics has me like, I can't wait to be a mage. Do you know what I mean? I'm not excited at the way that I am with some of the other ones. I think this is my final ordering for how I feel about the melee, range, magic, and necromancy relics. Wizard is getting a 28, and necromancy is getting, 28, 34, a 41 on necromancy. Woo. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. Because I think the only thing necromancy really lacks is subjective fun score and late game power. I think if you're playing the league competitively, what you will want to do is you probably pick necromancy. But I will also caution you that you may get bored of necromancy because it's pretty repetitive. There aren't as many upgrades or goals to push for. And while all of your progression is accelerated, the upgrade chain for necromancy is a lot more chill than everything else. You may actually find that you run out of fun content to do. I think if you're trying to just race points and like you want to be number 1 on the leaderboard, I think you pick necromancy. I think if you care more about experiencing a lot of different bosses and content and like a really satisfying progression path, I think you send melee. And those are to me the only 2 good options. Those would be my 2 options. And I think for me, based on this, we need to make our decision right now. I promised it. What are we picking, boys? I think we can immediately throw range in the bin. I love magic. I just did a magic locked, style locked Iron Man. I'm throwing magic in the bin. I don't want to run it back. And the relic, there's nothing in this relic that has me excited. If it was crit chance and not damage, I would have to think about magic because it would be fun as hell. Melee getting 30 tiers of upgrades and lifesteal versus necromancy letting you skip an annoying grind, having a ton of ease of use, and being pretty fun and like in a satisfying way. The combat style relic I will be choosing for RuneScape League's Catalyst, releasing on September 15th, 2025. It's melee. I'm going melee. I'm absolutely going melee. I think it's going to be so much fun. I think the ease of use is low. That's really where it's losing points because it is melee. But the relic itself changes so much about the way you play. I think it's the winner. And I think if you're a seasoned RS player, melee is the way. If you're not a seasoned RS player, you may want to cycle in necromancy. That's the other thing too, is for me, I don't care that much about league score. Like, I'm definitely going to get dragon without a doubt. But I don't care about being number 1 on the high scores. Like, the thing about this lifesteal is it is going to sustain you all the way to the end game. You will not need to worry about food, healing, Sarad Omen brews. Like, you don't need to worry about any of it. The lifesteal is that good. Melee, I think, has to go on S tier. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Like, the fact that a dragon halberd becomes a noxious scythe is disgusting. Necromancer, I'm going to put in B. Because I think it's fun. I think I'm going to put magic and range together in C. Like, they're not like death traps like this abomination. You know? It's not a death trap, but... And there's some cool stuff. Like, honestly, the range chin thing I think is actually cooler. You know what? I'm giving range to C and magic a D. Because the chin thing is cool. Compared to crit damage, it just doesn't change anything about the way I play. That's my updated tier list on all of the League's relics. So... that's my rundown for why I'm going with the melee relic, and why I think most people are probably going to like the necromancy pick. Now, it's time for me to pass the question off to you guys in the comments section down below. Let me know what your pick is and why. And with that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.